Well, welcome to Friday night. We're back with the Jinx Shifters and RaceKraft Simulations, AOSC11. We'll race 206 here tonight, and it's coming from Snetterton in the UK. I'm Matty Kavanagh, and joining me back in the commentary box tonight is Daniel Leake. We missed a week, Dan, but we're back.
Yeah, g'day, Matt. G'day to all the viewers. Yeah, we're back. Missed a week last week, but thank you to the guys that came in and covered the show for us while in our absence. But we're back for Snetterton, another 150 event, the final sprint event before we go to the last round of the season at Bathurst. We're in for a cracker here tonight, though. Yeah,
only 3.22 kilometres around this one, which means we're doing 47 laps. It's pretty quick too, because we don't really have, we've only got a couple of real tight corners in this one. So we're going to see under an hour of racing tonight. Of course, they've still got to do the 2 compulsory pit stops, incident limit of 20, and we've got 1 fast repair to go. But Dan, can you see too much going wrong at some of these corners tonight?
Look, it's a very simple layout as far as Snetterton is concerned. It does have a couple of variations. We're running the 200 layout here tonight. The tricky ones are going to be the run through turn 3 into the S's off the back straight there. There's a little tight kink before we head through 4, 5, and then the next big one will be down into turn 6. Expect plenty of braking through that corner, but you've got to keep an eye out for the guys also trying to work their way off into the lane to complete their 2 compulsory pit stops tonight.
And you can see up there the temperature on track, 38 degrees, so it's going to be a little bit warm on tyres. Only 18-degree air temperature, though, so hopefully that may drop a little bit. We should look after the tyres. I reckon we are going to see fair bit of wear on the outside passenger side tyres as they push around quite a few of the corners. The long rounded right-hander there towards as we come back onto the main straight, but a couple of really tight right-handers as well. So we'll have to see how the tyres go on that side of the vehicle. Of course, big shout out to all of our sponsors as part of AOSC11, AJ Insurance Services, Team 126 Racing, Acuta Industries, Track Cams for Gourmets, Race Circuit Art Australia, and of course, simrigs.com. And tonight, of course, is another round of our Shootout King. This is actually the second last round. There's 6 Shootout Kings we do, the single lap qualifiers. You can see up there at the moment. Of course, our top 10 will be coming your way for their single lap shootout. Doesn't mean they're in the 10 like you see in the normal supercars and TV. It means that we are going to put them up on their single lap broadcast out there, and whoever gets, wherever they end up, they end up. But single lap shootouts, so everyone gets to go out in their own server, basically how it works, and they'll set their time. We can go between them here on the broadcast. But we already have 4 shootouts already happened so far, and it looks like Corey Shepherd is leading that Shootout King, all thanks to Team 126 Racing. We also got to come in here with our, obviously we do have our Driver of the Day points. That's going ahead. Kyle Stokes leading us at the moment, all thanks to RaceKraft Simulations, simrigs.com. A fantastic pedal set to come from simrigs.com for the winner of that one, and with only a couple of rounds left to go. And Dan, we need to speak about Corey Shepherd. I mean, he's been runner-up for quite some time, but look, he could seal the championship tonight and get his first AOSC championship.
Yeah, he's been supremely dominant throughout the course of this championship. We have seen him challenged at a couple of events through the endurance race, but as a overall season that he's been able to put together, it's been a hell of a season for him.
Well, the only person that can hold him out tonight looks like it's probably going to be Jordan Ross, to see if he can hold him out from taking that championship tonight. It's going to be very hard to beat him. So just watch Corey Shepherd tonight. As long as he can stay in front of Jordan Ross, he should be able to seal up AOSC11's championship. You can see our single lap shootout is up on screen, and Kyle Stokes is leading at the moment with a 108.74. So it's the 108.74 up on screen. Damian Johnson goes to number 2 just then. You saw him up there, the JK Signs entry. So 108.74. In the previous practice or the pre-qualifying servers, we did see them down in the 107s, our top 10. So we'll have to see if they can put together, though, that one perfect lap when it comes to the single lap shootout. See how they go with that one. Wade Sheedy from the Premier Racing Team up on your screen tonight. And looks like we are starting to pull him into the pits there. Tixie has done his lap as well, so we can see that up there. Sebastian Tixie in 4th at the moment with 108.52. Rob Bowden just behind with the 108.57 in 5th. Michael Taliancic has got up there to 108.59. Now, he didn't do too bad last week, actually. I'm just having a look at the results up on my screen, and not down the back where we used to see him. He's up quite a bit last time there, and he ended up being in 17th, made his way through the field. He likes to start at the back normally, but that's a great qualifying result. The worst he's going to come is 16th for this race.
Yeah, and it'll be good to see him start sort of middle field, and you know, we may see him work his way up a little bit further as we see our remaining 10 drivers come out to complete their laps. But it's a good chance for him. We know he loves passing throughout the course of the field, so it'll be a good challenge for him working it out tonight. But starting a little further forward always helps your cause as well.
All right, so our top 10 in the pre-qualifying that are going to get their broadcast out there for the single lap shootout obviously was Jamie Dyke in 10th. Michael Whiting was there obviously in 9th. Then it goes back to Tom Freeman in 8th. Todd Hayne came out in 7th, Adam Briggs in 6th, Rick Kuznetsov in 5th, Brian Borg in 4th, Tom Freer in 3rd, Jordan Ross in 2nd, and Corey Shepherd in number 1. And that's how it all started for our top 10 pre-qualifiers. And hope with the broadcast, we won't put too much pressure on them, and we'll see if they stay in the top 10. As we can see, Matthew Brunt from Synergy Sim Racing now coming out to do a lap in the single lap shootout. They've got a little bit of time to do this one. Of course, our main race doesn't get underway till after we get through the top 10 single lap shootout qualifiers. So still a few cars out on track to put some times down there. I'm just having a look up on our screen, and it looks like probably 2/3 of the people outside of the top 10 have done their runs. Remembering too, the problem with the single lap shootout qualifier for these drivers is, and the pressure that we put on them, Dan, is if they go to the outer limits, they cut a corner too much, and iRacing gives them a 0 for that lap, that's done. You are down the back of the pack.
Yeah, and I mean, how many times have we seen that over the past few seasons where the guys in this final 10 do make a little bit of a blunder there, and it really does hinder the race. And you know, that's a tricky thing to get your head around. You've got to run the car as hard as possible. But at a circuit like Snetterton, where the grass is literally lining the outside of every corner, every little piece of asphalt here, you don't have any margin for error like we do at some of our other bigger circuits, the likes of Brazil or Circuit of the Americas, for instance. So it's going to, mentally, it's going to apply a little bit more pressure to the drivers working their way through.
Matthew Runt just goes to P11 there with a 109.28, so he gets around there and locks his lap in to see where he ends up in the qualifying a little bit later. Possibly could see him back down in the 20s. You talk about the grass on the outside now. Watching him do a few laps there, I really think coming out of turn number 5, just as you head down to the kink in the right hand, down turn number 6, it's really easy to get out wide there and just drop a wheel out in that outside. And we're going to have to watch for that tonight, especially turn 6 as they come around the bomb hole corner there, and the really long right hand around Karam, turn number 7. Just really putting all that pressure on the outside left tyres on the passenger side.
Yeah, and that's going to wear out, as you alluded to before. I mean, that's going to shorten the life of those tyres. We're going to see the guys need to really implement a decent strategy to make the most of that. But for a circuit that doesn't have a lot of right-hand corners, it really is critical to how you set these tyres up so that you can gain the maximum corner adhesion from all 4 corners of the car. So that'll be a tough one. I think, as you say, the run into 6 is going to be critical. It's a very tight, the tightest complex of the circuit for the guys to work their way through. And look for plenty of passing down there. We've seen it the last time we were out here, and that was back in season 6, if you can believe it. So it's a long time for these drivers to have not been here.
All right, let's kick off the top 10 in the shootout, the single lap shootout qualifier. Jamie Dyke from Motorsports is on his out lap. So just getting those tyres warmed up, checking the brakes, and getting the eye back in after having a slight little break after pre-qualifying. So Jamie Dyke, Fishy Motorsport. And he has been pretty impressive, actually, in the last few rounds towards the end of the season, really coming on strong. The team from Fishy Motorsports just seem to be getting the setup of the car right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've really come into their own over the course of this season. We've sort of seen them thereabouts, and if we look back over the last few seasons, it's very reminiscent of what happened with Tanked SRT. They were sort of thereabouts. Now they've found something that's clicked for them, and we're now starting to see these guys regularly making an appearance inside the top 10.
Well, teammates, of course, Whiting in there as well. So let's see. The teammates could be in the top 10 tonight. Michael Whiting still to come out next in our top 10 shootout as we check it out. But let's start this lap now and see how Jamie Dyke goes in Fishy Motorsport. Not too bad there as we start to head around the right-hand corner, sort of a double corner there in the short straight. Now it's really down. You've got to get down to first gear really here to turn this car in. And then you go straight into a left-hander. Now another straight, and you think looking at this, it's going to be quite long, but it comes up very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's not a long run down towards turn 3 there into the S's, and we're going to see him just quickly duck under the bridge here momentarily as he starts the run in. Keep an eye on the braking line that he takes, runs it very close to the outside left side, tucks it in nicely through the apex there and sets himself up for the run down through the bomb hole. A little bit of a dip, but just picking up that little bit of grass there. Hopefully that hasn't impacted the lap.
I think you might be right there with that much, because really there's a lot of load already taken off that tyre at that point. It shouldn't spin too much there. Coming down the last couple of corners here through the Murrays, he'll head on straight. Let's see how he goes. He's a little bit off the pace, I think, from the pre-qualifying times. We'll have to check it. And he goes 108.74, sorry, 108.32 or 108.32 up on our screens, and goes third fastest now in his single lap shootout qualifiers. We move on to his teammate, Michael Whiting, now out on track.
Yeah, and Michael here just setting himself up, coming in towards turn 4 there. And that car again looking very well. And that was something I noticed just before for Jamie's lap. The car looked very settled as he worked his way through. Michael just getting now the pressures up and about to come across the run into the final corner there. Let's have a look, see how his exit is, because this is going to be really critical to how he sets up for his lap. Jump on board here. You can see not a lot of room there to play with. Gets the car nicely through the final apex, runs it a bit wide. See what he's able to do now as he picks up the throttle and gets on with his lap.
All right, this will be his qualifying lap as they come out now. So Michael Whiting going to get well and truly underway, and we're going to see how he goes. But he gets around the Fishy Motorsports cars. The first time these two have been in the top 10 shootout, I do believe, actually, or maybe we've seen Jamie Dyke before, but it's good to see, like we say, Fishy Motorsports just starting to get that bit of a, I suppose, a bit of a roll-on effect in the later half of the season there, and starting to get that momentum where the setup in the cars have been superb, and they've really been quite fast in the race pace, fighting out in the championship as well to try and get themselves a top 10 finish. Here we go. So he's down a little bit in sector 1. We'll just have to keep watching the times here because he's very, very close to his teammate. In fact, he's actually just got him by a couple of hundredths of a second there for the first sector.
Yeah, not going to be much in it as he comes around to complete this lap. You can just hear him just hanging on the limiter as they ran down through the bomb hole there. Getting into the final complex. He's still a couple of tenths of a second off the back of this one. Gets a nice drive out, a little bit of oversteer, but let's have a look at how he comes across and where he slots into the field.
You wait for those times to come up. I think it's not going to be too bad. Position number 2. So Michael White for an entry. So if everyone runs, faster times like they did in the pre-qualifying, he will end up in 9th where he did start for the top 10 shootout. So that's not too bad a start there for Whiting, and not a bad place to be back on the 5th row of the grid as well. So it should give him a good start here at Snetterton in the UK. And next up, though, is Tom Freeman on our screens. Of course, the big RaceKraft Simulations sponsored car, and we'll have to wait and see how he gets his lap. Just warming the tyres up here. We're on the out lap at the moment, and we are getting through our top 10. He was 8 in pre-qualifying, Tom Freeman, 8th place. Can he go a 107? Will he be the first one to dip into him? Kyle Stokes is still sitting on that bump there with a 108.07. Who will be the first to go into the 107s? I'm sure Corey Shepherd will definitely be in there unless he makes a mistake. So it's where you need to be. I reckon about a mid 107s where you're going to want to run if you want to be on the top 2 rows of the grid.
Yeah, it's going to be really critical to sort that out. Looking at the run here for Freeman early on, the car's looking really nice as he runs through 1, down into 2 there. Good little use of the curb and not too much wheel spin, a little bit of a wiggle, but he's setting a good run here down under the bridge. We'll keep an eye on the split as he works his way through, but so far it's a good lap from him.
You have to be careful here. You can see the inside ripple strip. The right-hand side. This can really catch you unaware, put you up on 2. If you don't do it, goes wide, and he's just used the maximum amount of track coming out of turn number 5 there. Gets to the right. Sector 2's looking good, though. It's the purple sector on this one, so he is quick. He's just off the pace, so I don't think he's quite going to make it over Stokes. Goes wide there, runs it out on the grass there, but didn't hear any wheel spin on that one, Dan.
No, picked up the throttle beautifully there. Let's have a look as he gets across the line. Oh, he actually works his way up there. It's purple second sector and 3rd, and brings it home into 2nd position, a 108.13. So Stokes looking very handy here at the moment. Has held off at least the first 3 challenges, as we have now Todd Hayne setting up to begin his lap.
Don't we notice a difference in these single lap shootouts when they come together is when they're out there doing the pre-qualifying, in some tracks you can use the drafting a little bit. Sometimes it's just good to get that little bit of extra temperature in the tyres or the brakes there just to grab those extra 3 or 4 tenths of a second where you can push it, and they reset very well. And when we get to the single lap shootout, you've only got 1 lap to warm the tyres up, get the brakes ready, and then put everything into this flying lap, knowing that if you make the slightest mistake, too much curb, go out too far, it's a null and void lap, and then it's all over. You've got to start at the back of the pack, and you've got to do that hard work to get through and really look at your strategies when it comes to pit stops. As Todd Hayne, though, is going to take, and hasn't he been impressive in season number 11? Sort of new to the series, only came to the end of season number 10 when it came to AOSC, midway through the year, and he just improves each week. But we have seen him up there in the front few rows of the grid starting, And where does he end up tonight? We'll have to find out. So Todd Hayne from Taipan Esports out on track at the moment. Let's see what we're waiting for the first second time to come through. And we'll just let's see if they come up on screen there for Todd, because he can be super fast when it comes to the shootout.
Yeah, and so far at the moment, he's right on pace. He's only a tenth of a second behind Kyle Stokes there as he runs through Sector 1. Nice run out of that little tight fourth corner there, down through the bomb hole. The car looks really well settled here. The nose is tipping in beautifully. And as we jump across for the second sector, just a couple of tenths further off the back. So this might slot him down into about 5th or 6th position when he gets across the line. Down through that final corner using all the curb and then some. And still good traction on the exit, which is common to what we've seen from most of the guys out here so far tonight.
Yeah, let's have a look and see how he goes. Not going to do purple 3, and he goes peak 3. Todd Hayne in a 108.24. So a 108.24 for Todd Hayne, and he's in peak 3 at the moment. And we've still got 6 cars left to run in this shootout. So we'll have to wait and see what he ends up, especially that purple sector at the end. But Kyle Stokes, what an impressive drive from him in his single lap shootout. Didn't have all the pressure on, and a 108.07 is still the time to beat. It still has the fastest sector times for 1 and 2 as well. So we'll have to wait and see if that time can hold out on Briggsy. He's warming the tyres up. He just grabs a little bit of dirt. Won't want to get them too dirty there. But Adam Briggs, it's his time now to see what he can do. He was up there in the championship for quite a period there. We missed a race there, and last week, unfortunately, did not go his way. But he seems to be jumping between him and his teammate Andrew Dyson to whether who's going to be successful each week. But we haven't seen Andrew Dyson here. I'm just trying to see. I cannot see him in our list tonight. So unfortunately, we have not seen him in the list. So it's obviously Briggsy's night to bring home one of the trophies off the podium. Let's see how he goes. He's on the lap at the moment here, waiting to see what happens in sector number 1 for Briggsy. The best sector time we got to 32.11. We'll have to wait and see how he goes, as he will complete that very shortly. The Simrigs purple sector there at 32.02 and almost grabbed a 10th, Dan.
Yeah, it was a great first sector there. I thought he might have had a little bit of a moment there on the exit of the first hairpin, but he's gathered it up beautifully. The car looks really well settled here, and this is Briggsy's one to lose. It's 15.3 in the second sector there, so he's up by a bit here as they work their way through the final corner. This is looking really, really competitive.
Yeah, we'll wait to see there. 15.35, yeah, that's on par there with Kyle Stokes for sector number 2. This one should be on the money here. He should be coming in a too fast. We'll have to wait and see how the final sector goes. Oh, he is just there, 108.01. He has gone 600ths of a second faster. 600ths of a second.
That's a great one. And Andrew Dyson just in the chat. He's hanging out for a few more onboard cams. So he's got the smoker going as he watches his teammate there jump into provisional pole now.
All right, there's next a young gun on screen, Rick Kuznetsov, another one who's new into the series in the last season, came at the end of last season, and, podium in the last few weeks. Since round number 8, he has only missed the podium twice. When I say missed the podium, he's come 4th in round 11 and 4th in round 13. Every other round since round 8, he has been on the podium. He's got a swag of bronze in 3rd place, and he's got himself 1 second place, where it also started at Suzuka in round number 8 in the Enduro. What can he do tonight? Can he get his first win on the podium? He's got a tough teammate. He teams up with Corey Shepherd as they go alongside, but he's on his flying lap now. Rick Kuznetsov, Premier Racing Team. Let's see how he goes in this flying lap.
Yeah, the run through turn 1, absolutely fantastic there. It's a late apex through turn 2 there. Gets a little bit of a wiggle mid-corner there. Have a look and see how the sector goes. It doesn't look like it's hurt him too much. The traction being picked up lovely as they head down this somewhat of a back straight in towards turn 3.
Yeah, a little bit of a telltale there. 32.06. He is only 400s off. 400s off in sector number 1. He's still got a chance in that little wiggle. The telltale you can see from the onboard shot. How much input goes into it. He's really quick here. Oh, purple sector in sector number 2 of 15.24. So he's caught up a 10th. That should put him in the lead at the moment. Can he finish this off? He just needs to put this final sector together. We could see him go P1. Will he be the first in the 107s? Final corner here, the slight kink to the right. Don't go in the pits. Keep it going. Kuznetsov, where does he end up? Can he go purple in sector 3 as well? Waiting to see. He goes green sector time and goes to number 1. They're the first of our 107s of the 107.88.
Yeah, it was a nice lap there. Looked a little bit sketchy early on, but he gathered it up beautifully and pulled it home. very, very well there. His teammate now, Brian Borg, the second of, or the third of Premier cars out there so far tonight, just coming through the little kink there down in towards the bomb hole, getting ready for his lap. Let's see what he's able to do, because he's got a tall order now if he wants to get above Rick here and maybe get a Premier lockout on the front row.
And yeah, we really do need to talk about it, isn't it? Three, three very close together here. So Borg, Rick and Borg, obviously in the Premier race team, as well as Corey Shepherd. What can they do? Brian Borg last week had a week he doesn't want to talk about. He's ended up down the back, and he's had a bit of misfortune, I suppose, throughout season number 11. He's been up and down. He's trying to hold on to his championship at the moment, see if he can get himself in the top three. This is his flying lap, though, as he goes into this single lap shootout now at Snetterton, UK, for the second last, the penultimate race here for season number 11. 150k sprint race, single driver, just goes out wide, late apex on that one here, turns it in nice. Let's see how much dirt, keeps it off there. Nice drive out there, and I don't hear the wheel spin. We're coming up to sector number 1. Let's see what the times are. It's a 32.02 is the best time from Briggsy for sector 1, but 32.06 from Kuznetsov. Will Borgie get very close to this? Are you sure that the ship is 31.98? He is flying, pushing hard, Brian Borg.
Yeah, the car's responding really, really well here. Let's have a look through this little back section down through the bomb hole. The car looks good, not too much attitude from it. This long radius run down through 5 is really tricky for these guys. We've seen some great runs through here so far. Borg gets it squared away nicely, uses all the curb. Something didn't quite do there on the start of the lap, but gets the drive out lovely. Let's have a look at the time as he comes across the line. I think he might have just dropped a little bit here. It's another green sector to finish out the lap. That puts him now into second place, 107.96.
Look, you can't be upset to be behind Rick Kuznetsov, because he has been on the front row quite a few times in the last few rounds. So I'll have to wait and see. Now, a man who hasn't made it here for every race this season, Tom Freer. He was third in pre-qualifying. Let's see how he can bring the 707 home. He has never had a pole, but looking for one tonight. And when we have seen him race, he's teamed up with Jordan Ross in some of the Enduros, and we have seen him do the single lap races. This season, he's definitely been a threat. So we'll have to wait and see what Tom Freer can do. He comes around to round out his out lap. He's warmed the tyres up now, and it's onto the flyer. Let's see how he goes. He'll have to set up in this car on kill. That's what it'll be. He'll be trying to get the maximum out of this lap. We'll see how Tom Freer goes. He turns into turn number 1. The steering, just slides it out a little bit there using the maximum amount of track. It's really here. Getting the car slowed down, a bit of a wiggle. Everyone look at that late apex so they can really get a nice drive out here through the left-hander. And you can see he has to correct the steering. So Synergy Sim Racing, Ross, his teammate, about to go out after him. They've split the Premier Racing teams in pre-qualifying. Can they do it now when it comes to our single lap shootout?
Works his way through that first sector. Already a 10th off, noticing this car very, very pointy on the front end. It's just struggling a little bit there for rear grip. It's chasing the car around this lap. Down a little bit more as they work through sector 2. It was a 15.3. Couple of tenths off still as this lap progresses through the final corner. It's a nice run through there. Gets to drive out. Let's have a look as he goes through. We're expecting this. I reckon it's going to put him down around 4th, 5th position as he gets across the line. Actually, it's a purple final sector. Picks it up in 3rd position.
He's just snuck into the 107s there too. Like, just got in there with a 99 on the end of that one. So, a fantastic sector 3. Sometimes looses fast. It didn't really work for him in the first couple of sectors, but sector 3. Now, will there be a setup difference here for Jordan Ross? Obviously, he is ready to go. Part of the Synergy Sim Racing as well. And look, he is another one since midway through the season. We have just seen him get on the podium after podium. Him and Rick Kuznetsov 2 rounds ago back at Summit Point, they fought it out for position 3. Last week they did the same thing at Donington. Unfortunately, he didn't get on the podium last week, but we'll wait and see how he goes at Snetterton. Let's see what Jordan Ross can do as he comes around the final corner, sets it up to go down the main straight. Nice drive out of there too. We didn't hear the revs come up. Ross will be in for a flyer. And does he have a slightly different setup to Tom, or does it just suit his driving style a little bit differently? We know he likes to slide things around on a jet ski in the water normally. Can't wait to see what first sector does. And the steering looks very smooth there at this point, doesn't it, Dan?
Yeah, look, it's a stark comparison to what Tom was running last time by, although he has a little bit of a wiggle there in the back, just catching the rear brakes there on entry. It's a little bit tardy on the exit of this run here. Now, of all the competitors we've got out here tonight, Jordan Ross is the only one in the field who has picked up a win with at this circuit here. So keep an eye on that as far as a form guide. He knows his way around, but that issue that we saw there for the run through turn 2 there has really, really hindered his run here. Now the car's looking very, very scrappy.
But look at the times there, and he's probably about 3/10 out actually in the first sector if he wants to catch up. That is going to be hard to catch up. The best thing you can do at this point here is really push on in the next 2 sectors, and maybe, just maybe, you can try and 15:33 there in the second sector. It's going to hurt him here. He's not going to be P1. We have to see if he's going to stay in the top 10 as he goes across the start-finish line again. Sector 3 gets a purple sector there, so they've definitely got the car set up for that third sector. And I'm looking at this one. Yeah, it is position 23. It's putting right down the back. So have we maybe we've had an off track there, is what I'm going to say. That's what I'm thinking. There is an off track in that, because that time really not showing what we expected. Really the outlap that we're seeing up in our timing screen. So he's had an off track, and that is the risk of a single lap shootout. Is if you have an off track, well, you're going down the back. Well, this is pretty ominous, Dan. Corey Shepherd is on an outlap. Yes, you see a purple sector. It's on an outlap. Cold tyres, and just getting ready for the flyer here. The Mr. Antenna Mustang from Premier Racing Team. He's leading us in the point score. He can seal the championship here tonight. Starting off pole would be a fantastic way to do it. And will he be joined by his teammate Rick Kuznetsov again to lock out the front row of the grid, and backed up by his team principal Brian Borg on the second row? We'll have to wait and see. Turns it in nicely. He has just been clinical in season number 11. I mean, he had a great racing in season 10, but he had James Scott there, and he's been able to learn so much by following him around the track. And this season, just putting on a clinic for the rest of the drivers for Corey Shepherd every time he makes it out there on track. He's just, let's have a look at the sector 1 there, and he's got him. Oh, he's matched the sector time almost there, but he's got the purple sector up now for himself, but Brian Borg has matched him on time, the team principal. We'll wait and see how he goes. Purple sector in sector number 2, though, and we're talking hundredths of a second. Hundredths of a second, but what will sector number 3 do? The last couple of drivers have really pushed it in sector number 3. I think he's going to get P1 here. We're expecting as he goes across the start-finish line. And he makes it up there at 107.67, goes over by 0.2 of a second. So 0.2 of a second for Corey Shepherd to come home in P1. Locks out the front row with his teammate Rick Kuznetsov, with team principal Brian Borg right behind. And Tom Freer will be there on the second row alongside Brian Borg for Synergy Sim Racing. Then it's Adam Briggs and Kyle Stokes on row number 3. Tom Freeman and Todd Hayne will start on row number 4, and Michael Whiting and Damian Johnson on row 5. So Damian Johnson, he did really well that time. End up in 10. So last chance to grab yourself a drink and get ready for the race tonight. We've got 150 kilometres race coming away from Snetterton in the UK. 47 laps around this rather short circuit tonight, Dan, and 2 compulsory pit stops. What do you think we're going to do with those?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how the guys are going to play this one. I would, if I was a betting man, and I'm not really, I'm going to say tyres in the second stop when the guys come through. Keep the fuel loads relatively, put enough in to get you home for the 2 or to the second stop that you need to come through. Take a very short fill at that opening exchange and then press on. I think for the guys who are a little further down, depending on how the start of this race goes, you're going to want to come in almost as soon as possible. Yes, it'll drop you down a little bit, but you're going to have clear track to get back on pace and work your way up through the field. So maybe for Jordan, we might see something of that kind of an exchange to work his way through. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm sure he's already talking about it with his teammate Tom Freer, because Tom likes that side of things. He likes to get the pit stop strategy right, and Jordan Ross, as you know, he's a bit of a happy bloke out there. Loves to be involved in the race, and so if he can somehow put himself up there with some of the leaders, he loves that battling, and we've seen him have to get super defensive in the past. And wouldn't it be great to see a showdown between him and Brian Borg, a showdown of the we don't want to call them blockers, but a showdown of the defensive drivers?
Yeah, I think it'd be a really great scrap between those guys, just to watch them work their way through and see what they can do. We've already seen throughout the course of the season, Brian knows how to make the Mustang extremely wide. Tom is very good at getting through the field. So it'll be a great little exchange to watch how those guys come through it. There's a few other guys you've got to keep an eye on. I think one of the biggest ones is Kyle Stokes. He's now starting out of 6th position, didn't make it into the final 10, but the qualifying time that he put in early on really stood the test of the field for the majority of that session tonight.
And he's just outside the top 10 when it comes to our championship points as well. So watch him. He could be one for the money tonight. Okay, let's go through how they ended up after all of our single lap shootout qualifying session. Corey Shepherd and Kuznetsov on row number 1. Brian Borg and Tom Freer on row 2. Briggs and Stokes on row 3. Freeman and Todd Hayne on row 4. Whiting and Johnson on row number 5. Row 6 will be Jamie Dyke and Adam Hayne. Then we go to row number 7, where it will be Sebastian Tixia and Rob Bowden. Back to the next up, we are going to see Michael Talianchis and Jacob Knight on row number 8. Simon Mazzomo and Christian Smart in row 9. Wade Sheedy, Matthew Brunt in row 10. Stephen Kokoschke and Chris Barnes in row 11. Dylan Thomas and Jordan Ross will start out of row number 12, and that is very unfortunate for Ross there. Of course, it looks like he got a null and void lap there on his single lap shootout, and that means he did not post a time and he goes to the back of the field. So unfortunate for Jordan Ross, but can he come through here at Snetterton? It's a nice short track. It's fairly flowing here. We're going to put a fair bit of pressure on those passenger side tyres. The lockout on the front row, though, from the Premier Racing Team. Shepherd and Kuznetsov, the young guns. Are they going to bring it home? Will he seal the championship here tonight? Corey Shepherd. Where will Rick Kuznetsov come? He's 4th in the championship at the moment. He's got to get a swagger points on Adam Briggs the next 2 rounds. This round and next round as we finish it off at Bathurst. We know he'll probably team up Sebastian Tixia in that one too, who's a very nice steerer of the car as well. So the Premier Racing Team have some very strong, I suppose, duos when it comes to the endurance rounds, but I'm sure Corey Shepherd would love to seal the deal tonight, which means he does not take that pressure into Bathurst next week, as we got the big one, the 650k enduro, and it's another single lap shootout around there, around the mountain. Can't wait for that, but it's all on tonight. 150k's, 47 laps here. Waiting for the lights to come up. Our final drivers look like they may have joined us in the server. I can hear the revs up and the lights are about to get underway here. Check the start. What will Tom Freer do? Can he put a car between and we get underway? It's a nice clean start. They look fairly even. Briggs doesn't get a bad start though. He pulls in front of Kyle Stokes, so he's going to hold on to that one. See how they all pan out. The first corners where it could all come unstuck, especially if you're out on the outside there. A lot of curb there. You can see from Stokes, but the car settles down again. They're slotting in Tom Freer. Borgie gets up the inside, keeps Freer on the outside. Briggs as well. They're trying to come down, but the crisscross back through here, and looks like Brian Borg is going to get the better on Tom Freer. We've got cars turned around in the background, Dan.
Yeah, it looked like Tixia and Michael Talianchis involved in that one, and those guys trying to work their way back onto the field at the moment. We already saw that battle in the top 3 between Freer and Borg that is going on as Freer just makes a big mistake on the run in through 4 there. Not sure whether he's been able to get that car back underway, and we've already got him going around in the background. Is that Haynes gone around?
It's one of them.
Who's in with that one? That's one of the JK signed the synergy entries in there as well.
Smart, I reckon that is. So that's Adam Hayne, Christian Smart turned around in that Switch Pro panel car. That is unfortunate for Adam. It means Todd's still low in the fight. That. One of the things, though, with all these cars in the background that we keep seeing going on, though, means that Ross has made a heap of positions. And Fishy Motorsport showing their cards early. They're going to take the early pit stop and see if they can pull themselves out in some fresh air.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move. We've already seen the chaos unfold early on here as you see Freer just dragging up a wheel through 1, trying to get the move on. Adam Briggs just closing in on the back there, trying to sneak his way now up into that 4th position, just holding 5th currently. But yeah, as we were saying, for the guys further down, Jordan Ross doing a stellar job, just picking his way through the carnage earlier on, now up in 11th position.
I tell you what, Jordan Ross's opening lap. Let's check this out on the Jinx Shifters replay here. He is at the back. He has already made up 13 positions, so he is on an absolute flyer tonight. Bit of wheel spin there in front. Looks like tank the entry. He's already going past Chris Barnes. Down the inside. He's going to split the 2. Thomas there as well. They all break early, don't he? He just put the nose in here. He's going through, and we're about 4 or 5 positions up at this point. Just gets the car. What a start it is from Jordan Ross, and really with the right pit stop strategy here, he puts the nose on the inside. moment there, though. You got to hold your breath, don't you? If you're Jordan Ross there, you've had such a great start. Wade Sheedy just gets that position back on him, and there's another incident that comes up just now as well. I do believe as we head down to this next corner, and he's managed to survive all of them there for Jordan Ross. So a fantastic start from him. If he plays his pit stops right, he is going to be one to watch to see if he get on the podium. That's where we see the Adam Hayne and incident there, obviously with Christian Smart as well involved in that one there. And fighting out at this point there, and wow, that is close again. Jacob Knight was.
Yeah, I was just going to say Knight having a bit of a moment there as well. So that was really eye of the needle stuff there for Jordan Ross, picking his way through that. He did it beautifully. Simon Mazzomo just a little bit ahead. Those two have just had a recent change of position. We're watching the restart of that one. And looks like Tom Freeman now has managed to sneak past Brian Borg, so he's now promotes himself into third position. Borg now under all sorts of pressure from Adam Briggs behind.
Very smart move from Freer. I don't think you can't chew your tyres up trying to get past Borgie. You need to be a little bit aggressive with that one and make that move, knowing how wide he can make that car. He may not want to get in that fight with Freer, but look, he's had to give that one up. Briggsy now is right on the back of Brian Borg. But that's what that as well. So one of the things we haven't spoken about, though, being a short course, Dan, is that when you come in the pits, if you are too far back in the pack, the chances are you're actually going to go a lap down, because you're losing probably half to 2/3 of a lap when you're in the pits.
Well, it's almost closer to half a lap based on the times we're seeing at the moment. We've had total transit times anywhere from 25 seconds to 35 seconds for all of these cars. The early stops at the moment have been around 4 to 5 seconds. We have chucked a couple of 9 and 10 second stops there for a couple of the guys already. So in doing that, it's working out quite well though. So for the guys that have pitted early on, the likes of Jamie Dyke, Michael Whiting, they're down in 15th and 16th position. They're currently working their way down through the bomb hole. So you're not really that far behind at the moment, and you get a clear track in front of you. So you can really just run your own race at that point.
Yeah, I think it's a good point there. If you get in early before the pack spreads out too much, I think, and make sure you're in that clean air. Ross, now look at him. He is all over the back of Rob Bowden, tanked SRT. Every mirror is full of a Mustang. It's a Jordan Ross Synergy Sim Racing Mustang. He has a look down here. You know you can't do it with the Chris Ross, but he's looking for the drive down this little front straight. Can he get it done? Pulls out and he drives past him too. Nice drive there from Jordan Ross. It looks like he's going to grab his 14th position since the start of this race, and he'll have time to pull over and really set himself up for this left-hander as well. So it's a nice start from Jordan Ross. Still banked up, going a little bit of train behind Brian Borg. It goes Brian Borg, Adam Briggs, Kyle Stokes, Damian Johnson. Then it goes Todd Hayne, Tom Freeman, just hanging off the back of this one. So we go from, it's basically from position number 4 all the way back to position number 9. 6 cars in one.
Yeah, it's a fairly healthy premier sandwich here at the moment. Borg in front and Freeman there in the back, chucking a couple of other teams along the way, and they're looking pretty racy. But for Adam Briggs here at the moment, he needs to find a way through on Brian Borg. He's starting to lose a little bit of touch with the guys in front. The gap out to a couple of seconds now as Briggs now gets one down the inside. Not quite close enough to make this move stick. So let's see what the drive is like on the outside. Borg just parks that car in the middle, just trying to make the crisscross near impossible. But Adam's going to have a bit of a draft here. He might be able to go the long way around.
Oh, mate, it's a bit of shake and bake there from Kyle Stokes, pushing him along. Shake and bake. Can you make it happen? No, Briggs puts him down. I thought Stokes might have taken good advantage there and followed Briggs in. If they'd pushed Borgie out, it possibly could have been Stokes and Johnson follow him through on that one, but Stokes making sure Briggsy gets the move done. But can his teammate Damian Johnson help Stokes out now? I think not a bad way to do it, to team up if you want to get past Brian Borg, make it a bit harder for him.
Absolutely. The guys have been watching plenty of NASCAR of late, because that's a very super speedway style move. They're just parking in behind and drafting through, and really well done. Stokes, he picked the perfect time to just duck off the rear bar there, not impede Adam on the way through, and Adam did a stellar job there to hold it around the outside and then flick it back to the inside. You see a little bit of battling still further down. Johnson's going to come under pressure here from Hayne, who's going to try and go the long way around. This might actually work for Hayne here. If he can get the drive out, he might be able to box in this position.
Yeah, and these are a good comparison of speed, these two. I reckon Damian Johnson and Todd Hayne, they are very good. And watch in the background, Tom Freeman now. He's lost a couple of positions. He's looking. He doesn't know which car to follow. Who's going to be the one that's going to be the victor coming in? There's a lock up there, though, as you see, from Damian Johnson. Hayne will get the opportunity to do the crisscross. Nice move.
That was beautifully positioned there to get the advantage there.
Tom Freeman probably holding back, thinking, I don't want to get involved in an incident. But at those points, sometimes I think you just got to take a risk. He put the nose in there. He might have got himself a position as well. As we keep watching this, we're going to see Jeffrey Eddy. He's joined us from Team 126 over in the United States. Big shout out to him. Unfortunately, we're not seeing him racing here tonight, but he's obviously watching us out on YouTube. They share us all over the United States for AOSC11 as we are in the penultimate round here at Snetterton in UK. We've got ourselves 8 short corners to get around. Only 8 corners here tonight, Dan. It's not a big track, but it's definitely a good race.
It's a real driver's circuit, and we're really starting to see that now with the guys trying to mix up their moves and get things done. So it's great watching this. We've already got the strategies starting to play themselves into contention for the guys that have taken the early pit stop advantage. Jamie Dyke and Michael Whiting, the first 2 cars we saw in the field, now back in 12th and 13th position respectively, but with clear track ahead of them. So they're not being impeded too much. We'll keep an eye on that as Michael Talianchich now comes in and knocks over his first stop, and he'll get back underway. As we just had a look there at the track conditions, 37 degrees at the moment. Nice and hot for the guys to work their way through. 18 degrees still ambient air temperature. So it's still not too bad considering what we saw in qualifying, Matt.
No, very similar conditions there. Now look at the back of Tom Freeman. He wouldn't have seen a car for the last 2 laps, I don't reckon, in any of his mirrors. And now there is a Mustang. And of course, it's George Ross, but he's going in the pits. What a time for me to bring that up. I thought he's decided that probably not a bad point for him, actually, for Jordan Ross there. He's just catching up to the train. It's going to be very hard to overtake several cars. So get himself out of that cycle and see where he can end up. Obviously, he was back in position number 11 there. So Jordan Ross, we'll see if Jamie Dyke and Michael White in the Fishy Motorsports, where their early pit stop will pay off as they come around. Looks like they might have the position done. They've got them both past Jordan Ross as well. So Fishy Motorsports put them in the game there, I suppose, with that early pit stop. Might assist them here, I reckon, with the undercut.
Yeah, they're looking really good at the moment, and just keeping an eye on their lap pace as well. It's very competitive to the guys we're seeing out front. Last time by for Dyke was a 109.37, 109.4 for Michael there, and they're not really that far off what we're seeing from our leaders at this point in time.
Talianchich pulls out the 777 there under brakes, and he's going to try and get that move done over Simon Mazzomo. Mazzomo goes a bit wide, drops the wheel out in the dirt, which is going to help him. Oh, brake lock up there from the Fishy Motorsport, Dylan Thomas. Just a brake lock up. Oh, pit lane, you can see it firing up. Stokes and Johnson are both in the Synergy Racing teammates. So obviously, probably a good idea to come together at this point. And then you can work together in the middle part of the race here, Dan.
Absolutely, and you know, it's going to pay dividends for them. If we have a look at the track map conditions at the moment, our leaders are starting to close in on the back of the field here at the moment. They're only 2 corners away. As Director Nick just brings up the track map there, you can get a good visual representation of where those guys are. So down in 12th position, you can see it just up into turn 1. That is where the guys are that have taken their earlier pit stops. So they're looking very, very competitive. Kyle Stokes back on board the 888. He's had his stop just a moment ago there as well, and just holding on.
So our top 8 have not pitted. They have not done the first, passage down pit lane yet, our top 8. So that really starts there with Rob Bowden, Tom Freeman, Todd Hayne, Brian Borg, Adam Briggs, Tom Freer, Rick Kuznetsov, and of course our leader, Corey Shepherd, have not pitted yet, but we'll wait to see. Corey Shepherd probably in a position where he doesn't need to worry too much at the moment. He's just under 4 seconds. He's got himself a gap over his teammate Rick Kuznetsov. We'll have to see how it goes. Now Jordan Ross needs to see if he can get past Whiting, so he's catching up quick and trying to make some positions up on the Fishing Motorsport team. They've been split by Damian Johnson, Synergy Sim Racing, when he's come out of the pit lane. So the 2 Fishy boys now have a Synergy car between them and behind them. So watch out. Will they try and work together to make this happen? Jordan Ross knows exactly where he needs to make those moves. And one thing in particular, we do actually have a lot more overtaking opportunities at this track. So we check out Adam Hayne here on the Jinx Shifters replay. He's lost a number of positions. Wait to see what happens. Oh, it's a car across field there, and that looks like it's Stephen Kokoschki goes across, and Adam Hayne is an unfortunate victim of that one.
Yeah, not a lot Adam could have done there to avoid that, unfortunately for him. Stephen there getting the brake lock up, fires it across the grass, and you're just a passenger at that point in time, and unfortunately he is off the side of the circuit.
Well, there we go. So it's a bit of a replay.
Yeah, we're up on board here. So he's not quite got the car in turn one. He's tried to straighten it up, and then he's just nailed into the side there of Hayne.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there for Hayne and Kokoschki there. He's had a fairly rough night. We saw that on the side of Sebastian Tixia's car too. Quite a bit of damage on the side. So it's been a bit of rough and tough in the middle of the pack there. They've been obviously a bit of push and shove, as you can see. Dylan Thomas now, the Fishing Motorsports entry, getting around. And how has Ross gone? It looks like he's got the move done on Whiting. Has he gone past Tom Freeman as well? Just having a look. Yeah, he has Freeman as well, who's come in the pit. So he's managed to make that position again. And he's back to P11 already, Jordan Ross.
Yeah, and looking very, very competitive. The next car up for him will be Damian Johnson, and that will probably happen in the next lap or two. We'll see those guys nose to tail. Back to Michael Talianchis, just putting a move there on Chris Barnes down into turn one. Simon Mazzomo just hanging on to the rear here. We've seen quite a few spots there taking opportunities down into one, and Mazzomo looking at an opportunity there into two as well, just pulls the nose out in time.
Before, but our leaders have been in the pits, and the final ones to come in: Tom Freer, Todd Hayne, and Rob Bowden in the pit. Leaders have already. Corey Shepherd's retaken the lead. Let's see where Tom Freer comes out in this one. He might have hurt himself a little bit with time. Brian Borg's going to come out. Tom Freer, will he get in front? Looks like he will. You can see Brian Borg in the back. So he holds on to P3, which is good. He had that gap there. But, of course, Corey Shepherd and Rick Kuznetsov have been in and out of the pits. And, of course, the Premier Racing Team Young Guns still 1 and 2 in this race.
So when the first round of pit stops are cycled through, we saw Adam Briggs had worked his way ahead of Brian Borg. Borg's been able to get back in front on that strategy there as well. And if you have a look at the stationary times for both of these cars, it was 3.9 for Adam, 6.7 seconds for Adam there. So just a little bit of different strategy coming into play. We'll see obviously how that pans out through the second phase of this stint here. But for Adam, he's not going to be keen to be behind two more cars now.
Notice that Tom Freer spent quite a bit of time there up on the pits too, 6.45 seconds. That is one of the longest stops we have seen, especially from our guys in the top 10. So not quite sure what he's decided to do on that one, but he's up there with Briggsy, that is for sure, when it comes to times stationary up on jack stand. So yeah, interesting strategies here. We'll have to wait and see how that all plays out for our races. As you can see, we're on board with Brian Borg, and a bit of a look there from Kyle Stokes. And mate, what a night from him. He started pre-qualifying in first position. He came out there and he held on to that one. He managed to start out of 6th place. So it was a great start from Kyle Stokes. He's currently in 5th place in the Synergy racing and looking strong. So Synergy sitting in have got their setups right in the car tonight, much like the Premier Racing Team do as well. As we check out Sebastian Tixia is coming for his second stop, and maybe he will grab that single fast repair available tonight.
Yeah, I think that's probably not a bad idea to take that opportunity and see what he can do. But we'll keep an eye on this little scrap here for 4th position, and it's almost a change of roles here. We might see a little bit of return of serve after we saw Adam get a helping hand through on Brian Borg. We'll see whether he's able to return the favour here on Kyle Stokes and help push him through to the next position. But yeah, these guys have got to start getting on with this one here. Jamie Dyke just in the background there in 7th position. Jordan Ross now up into 8th position after having gotten past his teammate Damian Johnson there.
What a fight back, coming back from 24th position, considering we are only 15 laps in. So we're just under a third way through the race, and he is 2/3 way through the field. I mean, very hard for him to catch up to the front runners. In saying that, we have seen a number of incidents. Luckily, we've got a lot of grass runoff. We have not seen the dreaded Acuta Industries safety car. I mean, it's not that we don't want to see Acuta Industries, it's just we don't want to see a safety car. But that could bring Jordan Ross back in the hunt if he can get a few more positions before that happens.
Yeah, it'll definitely come into contention there, and then it'll definitely trigger a round of safety of pit stops for everyone to clear out those final stops for the night. Everyone already with one under the belt. But I'm interested to see that we've already got a huge amount of dirt being flicked up down in through turn 4 there into 5, where we've seen a couple of big passing opportunities already. That could play on the guys' nerves a little bit, trying to get those cars settled and turn through.
Here we go, but he's got to watch out, because Damian Johnson now, Ross, if he's used up a lot of those tyres, remembering he has been out there the longest between these two, so those tyres probably hurting just a little bit more than obviously behind him, and he's been using them up to try and get past everybody at the moment. He is catching up to Jamie Dyke, though. It looks like that little gap is just dwindling away slightly, and you won't want to be grabbing too much dirt on this one. So having a look at Briggsy, he's not quite close enough in the background there to give his mate Kyle Stokes a bit of a push and shove past Brian Borg. They're not quite close enough to make that happen, but we'll watch and see. He's got a slightly different driving line there, pulls up on the brake. Oh, a little lock up there.
Yeah, Briggs just running a little bit of an alternate line there and nearly paid the price for that as he snatched that tyre, just getting it into the brake zone. Fortunately, Stokes not being collected in that one.
I tell you what, watching Bathurst today and the real Mustangs getting around, I can't wait to see if they are going to adopt that here on iRacing in the coming seasons, to see those nice fat Mustangs there at full width. And imagine that with the Herod performance sign on. The Brian Borg's got on, that would look ominous, wouldn't it? Coming in your rear vision mirror there, and love to see the Herod performance getting on board and assisting Brian Borg and the Premier Racing team for season number 11 here of the AOSC. Of course, big shout out to Johnny and the boys from RaceKraft Simulations over in Perth. It's a bit earlier over there. They're probably enjoying their night. Hopefully, Chris has joined them in their little area over there. He's gone into the studio with the boys and where they do all their sim racing, where you can go down and check them out at RaceKraft Simulations. If you are in WA, make sure you go and do that. See Johnny and the boys, they will set you up, whether you were just getting into sim racing or whether you are a professional and you want the top of the range gear. And you can check out their YouTube channel. Of course, we see my good mate Chris over there doing a lot of reviews on some of the gear that they're testing out. Some of that gear is at simrigs.com gear, so RaceKraft Simulations, check it out if you are over in the West Coast. Jordan Ross, they still holding on to 8th, and he's right up on Jamie Dyke at the moment and pushing on. Let's see how he goes. We are all these guys as well. There's so many battles going on at the moment down. We've got a battle for 4th position, 3 cars in that one. Then you go back to position number 7, and there's about 4 cars lying behind that, and not far behind them, Michael Whiting and Todd Hayne, who could be part of this battle. It's only going to take one little slip, and those guys will be right on the back of this one, making a 6-car battle for position number 7.
Yeah, it will not take them much at all as Briggsy now looks at a move down the inside here. He's got the nose up far enough. We'll see whether he's able to get the drive out and hold on. He's not quite close enough, but Stokes is going to run him wide there and really make him work to get that move done. Just slips it across the nose of the DPR car there and holds it on. But for the guys behind, it's not going to take much to bring them in. While this battling is as red hot as we're seeing a little bit further ahead, it's slowly going to trail everyone else back up into it, and then we're going to have the freight train, and then it becomes, when do you get out, take the next stop and move on. We're going to have a look here at just an incident with Jake Knight a little further down the field. He's still down in 23rd position and just picks up the back of one of the Fishy Motorsports cars. That was Dylan Thomas down into turn 1.
Just under brace there, and obviously trying to do the redress there. It wasn't intentional, but yeah, a big shunt from the rear there and just pushes Dylan Thomas off. So, Thomas is not having a fantastic night. He's involved in a few incidents there, and considering his teammates up there and fighting for a top 10 position, and unfortunately Dylan Thomas down the back of the pack, and it's where the dangerous part can be sometimes, especially surrounded by, I suppose, the lesser experienced drivers there. As Briggs is going to have another look at here. I see moments of Red Bull racing here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Right out there. Yes, it's identical. Was it? That's probably why. Our production team have just left the replay on to get us excited to see if we can replicate each lap.
Well, it's not far. Oh, there's a massive shunt in the background. Johnson involved in that. We've got one of the Fishy Motorsports entries involved in it as well. Who's that? Jamie Dyke has been rotated around.
Is disappointing for Dyke. Let's check out a replay here. We'll get this one right here. As Damian Johnson just having a look down the inside, you can see one of the cars getting past, has a look. Dyke comes down. Oh, That's hard, side by side. At that point there, if you grab that dirt, it is so hard for Johnson there to try and turn into that one.
Yeah, and we've seen plenty of guys in that same vicinity of the circuit able to go too wide and get the move done. I think that Race Control definitely take a strong, hard look at that one just to see the outcome before it is fully adjudicated. But looking from the outside and what we've seen tonight, maybe a little bit more racing room, there could have been afforded just to get the guys through.
Do you think Brian Borg is trying to let, obviously, who's that? He's going up to Greg Sharp. Do you think he's really letting Greg know that he's coming and he's actually there to lap him? Those lights are flashing once today. And look at this, though. While this battle starts to rage between Adam Briggs and Kyle Stokes, Jordan Ross has crept up on that and Brian Borg has crept away. So Borg now with a bit of a reprieve there, and Jordan Ross just looking at another 2 positions he could possibly grab, because he's probably due to come in very shortly, Jordan Ross. And will he put fresh boots on after this incredible run and try and sprint this race home, fresh rubber, plenty of fuel, and go for a podium?
Well, I think you'd have to be thinking, do you come in now and get out of this little bit of a traffic jam that you find yourself in? Briggs has had 2 big attempts down into turn 2 there, not being able to get the moves done. And for all the defence that Stokes has put on there, he's made it very, very tricky for Adam to try and find the move on there. As you see Greg just stepping sideways, let this battle continue on. Good sportsmanship there. Briggs, though, gets a big moment on the exit there. And I don't know whether that was maybe a little bit of contact, Matt, with Jordan, just sticking the nose in.
Rubbing is racing, mate. It's been NASCAR style all night, and Briggs is just going to let him go by in the 143 because Jordan Ross's car is just looking like it has so much drive in that part. We saw him when he came to the single lap shootout. In the first 2 sectors, the car was loose. Loose and fast, but not fast enough. But it just looked like it drove away there coming out of that corner. Maybe it was that little bit of a bump. Maybe it was, or maybe just Briggsy looking up and seeing Jordan Ross made him just lose concentration for a split second there. So Kyle Stokes is the next car that Jordan Ross wants to get now. We're talking teammates here, Synergy Sim Racing. So will there be some team orders? I don't think there will be from Jordan Ross. I think he's going to want to do this one above. But in the meantime there, Kyle Stokes has caught up to Brian Borg very quickly. So it just goes to show the pace when they're not stuck in these battles, how quickly they are catching up to Brian Borg and obviously grabbing a couple of tenths a second off him.
Yeah, well, Brian did have a bit of a tardy lap that time through. It was a 1:10.07 for him by comparison to the guys behind 1:09.4s. And we didn't see where he lost that extra 6 tenths of a second, but you can see it there on the tracking sheet. Stokes able to gain just shy of 7 tenths of a second last time through.
We'll have to wait and see. Maybe Jordan Ross will take the opportunity to pit. Tom Freeman in the background too, getting a move done on with Todd Hayne on Michael Whiting. So you can just see them in the background still pushing through the pack. And they're having a great battle down the back. I reckon I see Todd Hayne just showing his nose there to Tom Freeman. Really in the background. Rosso right up on the back though of Stokes this time. And here we go. Oh, Todd Hayne under brakes does a nice job. Runs him a little bit wide there. Tom Freeman just out on the dirt. But the drive is still there at that point.
Yeah, it's looking really, really good for these guys. And we'll see those two continue this scrap on for the remainder of this race as long as they're together, no doubt. Looking there at Stokes, just trying to slip one down the inside, not quite close enough. But Hayne, on the meanwhile, gets the move done down into 2. Beautiful down the inside there of Freeman.
Well, Greg Sharp just got a little bit sideways in the background. I thought there was a car coming there too. Now, look, Jordan Ross, if Briggsy can stay with Jordan Ross and let the two in front get involved in this battle, they may get a 2-for-1 deal. Possibly.
And right there, Briggs is really, really strong on the brakes in through that little bit of a kink as the guys now work their way through the bomb hole section. But while that scrap continues on, as you can see, Stokes just looks a little bit more racier at this point in time. Briggs is just going to have to sit on the back here. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a little bit of contact. We'll see him pick up 1, maybe 2 positions out of this.
Ross, though, oh no, he's going to pull out. Stokes is going to go in the pits. It's a
Briggs too.
Oh, that is probably a good decision, I would say. Don't get involved in this scrap. And Ross, at some point, though, probably not going to want to do the same. And this is the showdown I wanted to see. Some of the best defensive drivers in the league are going to go at it now. We've seen what Jordan Ross has had to do defensively in the last 8 rounds of racing. We've seen Brian Borg do it for a number of seasons when he has to. If he wants to get on that podium, he can make that car take up half of the track. I can't wait to see that battle unfold here tonight as we head back down to Jacob Knight, though. Here we go, a bit of a move. Jordan Ross is going to go down the inside, gets to drive. I'll be surprised to see it get given up that easily. A bit of a lock-up of the brakes there. He's going to go around the outside for Jordan Ross. Can he pull this move off, Dan?
He's setting the car up into a really good position here. Hangs on the outside through the bomb hole. He's got to be right there as they work their way through this final complex, but he's held it beautifully. He should make this move stick as they work their way down into the braking zone. All the guys very ginger on getting it in there, and a little bit of hip and shoulder just for good measure on the end.
And look where Todd Hayne is going to take full advantage of this one. Goes alongside Jordan Ross. Borg decides to pull in the pits. He'll have a fast repair up his sleeve as well. So that is, mate, he took a bit of a risk there, didn't he, Borgie? That's good timing for him straight into the pits. And Todd Hayne now becomes a problem for Jordan Ross.
Yeah, really, really good battling between both of those guys. And Hayne there just running his own line, picks up from that little bit of a mistake and a little bit of a bump now through the Exeter 2 for Ross on the back of Hayne there. He's got it all to do again. Will we see him, though, jump in the lane and try and cover off that pit stop that we've just seen for Brian?
Yeah, he's probably not going to get the lap he wanted, really. Like, now he's stuck behind Todd Hayne. They had that bump. He didn't get the drive out, so it was perfect timing for Brian Borg to jump in the pits there. Without a slap time out for Jordan Ross, if he comes in now, Brian Borg, I'm going to say, is going to get the undercut. I'm pretty guaranteed on that one here as Todd Hayne, bit of a wiggle there coming out of the corner. Can he hold on to it? They go through turn number 6. Ross looks like he's just setting himself up to go in the pits on this one. I reckon we could always put money on a pit stop here for him this time around as we check this one come out. Let's see if I'm going to be out of pocket. Yes, I am. See, what are you doing to me, Jordan?
Keeping on with it. Now, one big question we've got to ask is what has happened to Adam Briggs? He is in the lane for the 3rd time. The car stationary. Been in there for 37 seconds now. Has he had a moment somewhere along this circuit that's put paid to what was turning out to be a good run for him tonight?
Yeah, that's very, very unfortunate. We checked it out. I mean, obviously our leader, Corey Shepherd, leading us out at the moment, got himself an almost 8-second gap over Rick Kuznetsov, who's got himself he's got himself a 4-second lead over Tom Freer. We haven't really got to talk about Tom Freer tonight because what a qualifying run from him. I mean, he did start on the 2nd row of the grid. Tom Freer got that position really quickly over Brian Borg. He's held on to 3rd position and he's not far off the pace when you look at the last lap times for Corey Shepherd and Rick Kuznetsov. A safety car right now would really bring Tom Freer into the mix to see if he could possibly step up another podium there and see if we can go up another rung in the podium, but we'll have to wait and see if that happens throughout this race. We are on lap 27 of 47, so we are halfway through the race at the moment, just over halfway. We'll have to wait and see how this unfolds as Jordan Ross really pushing on at the moment now and making himself... Tom Freer in is where we see, so he has come in, and Todd Hayne, I did not expect him to make a gap on Jordan Ross.
No, he's done a stellar job here, just getting on with business and pressing. And I think a lot of that is due to just tyre management for him. So he's looked after the car really, really well here, and he's now making the most of it. We are now over halfway, however, and we'll expect these guys to come through the lane to get those stops done. We are keeping an eye on Adam Briggs as well. We saw him come down the lane for his 3rd stop tonight. We didn't see what caused that one to come through. We didn't get anything pop up on our timing, but it was a 44.1 second stationary time. I'm wondering if maybe he's had a moment at the end of the circuit and it's fired him back into the pit lane, very similar to what we saw a few weeks back at Simmons.
I am trying to have a look, see what if we've got some incident points up there too, just in case maybe that was some sort of penalty maybe he grabbed, but it doesn't look like that, you're right. So we'll have to get and see. Pit lane though, Rick Kuznetsov comes in and going to get in early, the Premier Racing Team Young Gun, and let's see where he will pull out of the pit box. This one's here, and looks like he's back out on track, very short pit stop for him. And he will come back out in 4th position, which means he will be behind Jordan Ross, remembering that Jordan Ross has not pitted. Hayne has not done his 2nd pit, and Corey Shepherd has not done his 2nd pit. But Shepherd, with such a commanding lead, he should be able to come into the pits and get back out without any issues.
Yeah, well, when we can look at where the guys are, so down in in turns 3 and 4, our race leader now just coming across the line there. So it's a hefty margin that Shepard's got available to him. And when we're seeing the pit stop times of around 30 odd seconds, he's going to come out in even more clear air when this is all cycled through.
Yeah, remembering that Todd Hayne and Jordan Ross still have to do their second pit stop because Kuznetsov is our leader of the of everyone who has done the second pit stops here. Look at that, purple second time for Kuznetsov already, and Ross is in the pits. Ross has dived in hard under brakes and pulling up, and let's see what he grabs. It's going to be interesting to see if he grabs. I think he's going to have to grab fresh rubber on there because obviously that early pit stop he wouldn't change tyres. So we might see him come out a fair bit quicker, which is impressive considering how fast he has been on the tyre that has gone, half of this race. And like we said, it's going to take a lot of tyre degradation on that passenger side there to push the limits. Come out with Borgie. I said Borgie. They're going to get back in this battle. Borgie goes by. Freeman goes by. Oh, is it Damian Motorsports as well?
Yep, so Whiting got through as well. So that's put Ross now back to 10th position. Now we will have a little bit better tyre life at the end of this lap as Corey Shepard now comes in the lane. But it's a 3-lap advantage on those tyres, and having the fresher rubber early on for the likes of Borg and Freeman really helped them get that little bit of an advantage that they needed to come back through.
Rick Kuznetsov's got purple sector times to sector 1 and 2. He is flying at the moment. I mean, big gap up to his teammate. Obviously, but he's not going to make that up without getting a number of those laps in. But with Shepard getting fresh tyres on now, we'll have to wait and see. No faster there for Jordan Ross. You can see the damage on the side as well. But Whiting now in front, back in 9th position where he started this race. He was 9th in pre-qual. He was 9th in the single lap shootout, and he's 9th on track at the moment. Oh, look, the Fishy Motorsport guys really impressing me recently. Now, let's see how he comes out. And as he's watching him go, they're going to drive by him too, and it's probably going to hurt. I don't think he's going to make it out with the pace there as they turn in. He's going to put Ross goes around and gets the move done on him, and that's a nice one there from Ross.
Yeah, Jordan just threw that car in to turn 1 there and just got it across the nose of the guys. As we see now, Freeman has been looped around down on the exit of 2 there. Did we see contact with one of the tank cars has also had to check up. Dylan Thomas has checked up just behind that as well.
I think that's a redress there from Michael Whiting. He is trying to read that situation, which gives a position up there to Ross and Hayne. Now, these guys were quick going around together, but it looked like Todd Hayne just had the pace over Jordan Ross. But they were on some really old tyres. So let's see how Jordan Ross goes now. Can he match him for pace when it comes to a fresh set of boots? And with the 143 Synergy Sim Racing car, try to catch up to Brian Borg, who has opened up a small little gap there. You can see it. It's just extended out there. Hopefully, those drivers will be racing very, very shortly.
I was going to say, just while we were watching all that unfold, Rick Kuznetsov with the purple sectors that we saw him setting. Best lap of the night so far, 107.91. It's taken 500ths of a second off his teammate, Corey Shepard, there to pip him just for the fastest lap so far. But Kuznetsov really coming on strong. And as we say that, Corey Shepard has lit up sectors 1 and 3, purple for both of those.
He is listening to you, Corey Shepard, because, yeah, the purple sectors, we'll have to wait and see what sector 2 does. Todd Hayne, in recent times, has actually had some really good, impressive drives, and he's just been off the podium there in 5th position there a few times. 6th position a couple of times there for Todd Hayne, and he actually came 4th position back in Barcelona, around number 7. So he's been teetering on, does he get himself a podium? And look, they've been impressive drives there, and I know it was one of those rounds he actually qualified up in the first couple of rows as well. But tonight is just showing how good a driver Todd Hayne is getting. He's in race situation. He's had to battle through the pack. They've had to make some decisions when it comes to pit stops. And guess where he is? Well, he's in with a fighting chance. He's in position number 7. He's up 1 position from where he started. But he's on the back of Jordan Ross, and he is not letting him go.
No, and he's looking really, really competitive as far as the lap times are concerned as well. We saw, obviously, a lap ago, there was that little bit of a bobble as they avoided the spinning Freeman Premier car there down in the exit 2. But yeah, predominantly for the course of the run, though, he has not missed a beat. We saw him actually get through on Jordan Ross just prior to the second round of pit stops, was able to build a bit of a buffer there as well. So, time management has been exceptionally good from these guys tonight, and overall pace is really coming into its own as well.
I think at this point he does not want to get in a battle though with Jordan Ross. I mean, I think he might have a little bit more pace, and it's not all about race pace. Sometimes it's a craft. If you're quick, you just need to understand the craft. And at this point now, you don't want to get locked in a battle when both of them definitely have a better pace in race mode than what Brian Borg does. So at this point, with a few laps up your sleeve too, we've still got a number of laps left to go in this one. Probably a good chance there with 15, 16 laps left to go in this race to work together, get past Brian Borg, and then get on with that position fight.
Absolutely, and I think this might be a good chance. We might stick on board with this onboard look out through the front windscreen just to see how the guys here in this little battle are getting on with business.
A little mistake there, and you see how quickly they pull away that tiny mistake, but they are catching up to Brian Borg, and this is what we said: work together, catch Borg, get yourself locked into a battle then.
And this could work out really well for these guys. You just see him pick up a little too much curb there on that final corner. He's not wanting to let go, but if he plays his cards right, similar to what we saw just prior to the pit stops, let the other guys trip over themselves and then pick up those couple of positions as they continue on. We're just going to dump on the back of Brian Borg's Premier Racing entry down into 2 here. And just see on the brakes for Jordan Ross a little bit better there. He's able to really close that gap up, but just the traditional accordion style little open at just a tick here. But for Jordan, looking very, very comfortable, and the drive in that last exit there, very, very good. He's going to have a think about a move into the turn 4. Borg goes very defensive, and Jordan fires one down the inside.
Remembering those tyres are 4 laps younger too, so it's a bit fresher by 4 laps. Looking for the crisscross here. He's not going to get it done. Hayne can hold on here, and maybe, just maybe, the 2-for-1 deal might come up. You never know. Ross is going to push on though, keeping that pressure on the board. Hayne will want to get a little bit closer. Maybe just leave that little bit of a gap in case something happens there. We know with the amount of defensive driving that they can do that there's the possibility we could see contact there, and just grabs a bit of dirt on the outside of that corner there for Jordan Ross, and they complete another lap. But they are ticking down. Ross's tyres will start to wear now. He'll chew them up too much, and then he won't get that opportunity to get past Borg. He can't get stuck behind him for too long, and neither can Todd Hayne. He needs to be close enough to follow Jordan Ross through any manoeuvre that he makes. As we head on the front of Jordan Ross's car now, you can see coming up on the bumper, that is getting close now. Slightly different line as they go through the corner there, through turn number 2 and 3. They head down the front straight, the Bentley straight. This is where he's really like to make this manoeuvre, Jordan Ross. He gets a draft, puts the nose down. It's not down far enough again this time. Sets himself up for this sharp right-hander, the Nelson. Doesn't mind taking a risk, Jordan Ross, either. He'll put himself on the outside of turn 6 if he needs to. He's not close enough to make that happen, though. Big, long right-hander, though. It's all about the drive out of this left one, though, the Murrays. Right up on the bumper. Right inside, looking at the rear suspension with the front spoiler shot there from Ross, and he's looking for a bit of a draft here. How wide can Borg make the car? He sticks to the inside line, Ross on the outside.
Borg's got to be careful here. He's going to get flicked off into the weeds if he comes across too hard on him. Very defensive down into 2 there.
Yeah, the late apex there from Jordan Ross to try and get the drive in this back straight, or front straight really, that he really likes to get the draft on and put the nose down for Jordan Ross. And he knows exactly what Borg's doing, because he'd make the same manoeuvre.
And you can see it. Borg's just slowing that throttle down just on the mid-corner of the exit there, just to give himself the better run out. And for Ross here, he's got to just be aware of that weight, that little margin, and floor it. Just, it's that 1/10 of a second between picking up the throttle and not. and that's all it is that's keeping Borg in front right now.
So still a 6-second gap between Rick Kuznetsov and Tom Freer for third position, but we're just watching this battle because we're expecting fireworks between these two, Brian Borg and Jordan Ross. It could happen at any moment, and Todd Hayne, the Taipan Esports, having a great drive here tonight in the mirrors of both cars. And who does he decide to go with when they go side by side? Because it's going to happen in the next couple of laps. We're going to see it happen again. Jordan Ross is going to have another go. Kyle Stokes is in fourth position at the moment, just in front of this battle. And why they're going to stay in this fight, it gives him an opportunity to just keep that distance out and hold on to that fourth position. Now, he's 5 seconds off Tom Freer, so he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to do it in the last 10 laps of this race and get on a podium.
Yeah, and while we duck back to this battle for 5th position on track, the battle for 10th is really starting to heat up as well between Wade Sheedy, Rob Bowden, Jamie Dyke. Dyke actually just now gets the move done. And while we say that, Ross now down the inside through the bomb hole. He's going to make the move stick. And right in behind that as well, Haynes is getting very opportunistic here. We might see him try and throw one down the inside as well.
I think that was a mistake from Brian Borg there, and he just grabbed too much inside curve, and especially that inner lip there, and it shot the car off wide, and the drive there from Jordan Ross. It's a bit of patience there, but they're running out of laps. Todd Hayne now. Will he be as patient? The draft down the main straight, he pulls it out. The switch panel pro car from Taipan Esports having a look around the outside, but he's going to push him out. Borg's not going to give it up. Todd's going to take the risk and goes out on the dirt, loses a bit of drive there. Right. Oh, he nearly overshot that one, and it's really hurt him there. And Borg, despite having the inside line there and covering off, will manage to get the run out of this one as we go back to the battle down here and see Freeman on the back there, flicks it out. I don't even know if he made contact with Sheedy there, but it was a bit of fishy.
Yeah, he did well to hold on to that one. No contact, but a little bit further back there is some more rubbing going on there between Rob Bowden and Wade Sheedy in 12th position there. These guys have just now fallen off the back of that little train we were having a look at as they work their way through. We might see Rob get the move done down the inside here into the brake zone. He just fires it in there. Sheedy's going to go high, just let him run through and set up for another opportunity. It's still 8 more laps in the tanks here for these guys to work their way around, so plenty of opportunities to get the move done.
Well, judging by how loose the cars are getting, I'd say the tyre degradation is starting to set in for a few of these cars, especially for some of the ones that took that early second pit stop around lap 22, 24. They're definitely starting to wear, and you can just see they're coming out of the corners that really easy to light the tyres up, excite them a little bit too much, and then you see it get loose. As we have a look at Johnson here trying to get a move done on Whiting, who's in 8th position at the moment. So battle for 8th position, the Fishing Motorsports car of Michael Whiting. Damian, you got to watch out for Damian Johnson. He is super fast actually when it comes into racing, and Synergy Sim Racing, you know, he's got the setup right in that car. He's currently sitting 9th in the championship too, Damian Johnson. So although we haven't seen him with a string of wins, he's definitely been accumulating points every round, and a lot of them top 10 finishes.
Yeah, and that's what this championship has really boiled down to. Yes, it's nice to get the win, and we've seen quite a few guys put their hand on the top step this season, but it's all about points accumulation. And we've spoken about that over the past few seasons. Just keep turning up, banking those points, and it sets yourself up for a good opportunity at the back end of the season to get yourself in contention. As we go back up to 5th position here, Jordan Ross just falling back into the clutches there of Brian Borg. Last time through, pretty evenly matched between both of those cars, although Brian Borg 5/10 quicker the last lap over Jordan Ross. So the tyres maybe haven't fallen off as much, and when we did talk about the tyres before, there was 3 laps difference between the tyres that went on Brian Borg's car and those that went on Jordan's.
Yeah, in the latter half of this race, very easy to make a little mistake like we saw when it came to qualifying and drop 3/10 from some of the drivers. So maybe it's just getting the wheel out in the dirt. You see him start to pull away at this point, and different setups in the car we could see from the qualifying lap and how they've set the car up and what sections of the track that the cars seem to perform better on. And Jordan Ross has definitely performed a lot better in the sector 3. So we saw that sort of late sector 2, and now we're in sector 3 where the car's starting to pull away. So we'll have to keep a watch on this one, because while Todd Hayne is trying to get past Brian Borg, that will slow him down a little bit. He's just not quite there to make that move, Todd Hayne, the Taipan Esports entry. Maybe he'll make it happen. 19 positions over Jordan Ross from Synergy Sim Racing. That is a drive, and how is this? We got two Premier Racing Team cars at the front, Corey Shepherd, Rick Kuznetsov, who are dominating out in front. And, you know, probably when we look at the field of races, their average age would be about, I don't know, about a third, I reckon, of the average age of most of the rest of the field. Then we got Tom Freer, Kyle Stokes, Jordan Ross, all Synergy Sim Racing, locking out from 3 to 5. So they've definitely got some strong setups in those cars, and Brian Bork and Premier Racing Team is 6. So the first outside of those two very dominant teams is the Taipan Esports entry, Todd Hayne in 7th position. So I tell you what, it's exciting there, and we're seeing some really strong teams who've taken on a number of drivers this season, additional drivers in their teams, and that's where I think we're starting to see the more drivers you have and the more time you have on different tracks, the more feedback, more input we can put into the setups, and that might be the difference between those teams at the top and the guys that are just outside the 10.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you can have multiple drivers working across all these sets in order to improve and develop the cars and the tuning aspects that the teams put into this, it really helps. You can gain fistfuls of time very, very quickly there. And, you know, we're seeing that week in, week out from the guys in front as Jordan Ross runs very, very wide there. He's making a move around one of the tanked SRT cars. That might have been... who was that? I think it was Rob Bowden. It might have been Chris Barnes there, a little further back. So, you know, for the guys that are able to get, you know, 3, 4, maybe 5 cars involved in setup development during the course of the week, they're going to find themselves right in the window very early on, and then it's just playing those little minor, you know, millimeter here, or a little click here or there, just to fine tune the cars to basically suit all individual drivers. And we know for all these guys out here, different strokes for different folks is how they set up the car, and we've seen that time and time again. I know within my team, for instance, the guys will run completely different setups to each other, and it makes it very interesting, but you can all then come down within a tenth of a second of each other. So yeah, it works exceptionally well, and we're seeing that out here again tonight.
Position 8 has been going back and forth in the background here. Now, Michael Whiting and Damian Johnson, they're playing tag team for position number 8. I can see it up here in my event screen. So they're having a nice little battle there for position number 8 at the moment. And we have a look. We go back to our battle here for Brian Borg, and he's still holding out Todd Hayne. And it just looks like the tyres may have used their best life now for Todd Hayne, and not really pressuring Brian Borg as much as we did see a few laps ago. Jordan Ross looks like he's just opened up a tiny gap, probably just enough where he can afford a slight mistake. In the background there, though, it looks like maybe Damian Johnson, Michael Whiting, a bit of a gap there. Maybe we've seen one of them. Michael Whiting went off track, and Damian Johnson got that move back. That is why we see them open up a bit in the background. Hayne goes a little bit wide on this one. Bork just holds on to that position. He's not having to be too defensive at the moment. Pretty comfortable with the pace. Had a bit of a replay here. Damian Johnson, Michael Whiting.
Yeah, these guys very, very racing. Johnson making him really work for it there, and unfortunately for Michael, just getting a bit of an awkward run there. He has to run it through the grass and then rejoin. So that costs him a huge amount of time there, and unfortunately some off-track points that every driver is trying to avoid here tonight.
Yeah, they were locked in a great battle there too. So I've still got Michael Whiting goes. He's back in his 9th position where he started. So he's still, you can't call that a bad race. You cannot call that a bad race at all. Corey Shepherd, though, leading this one now. We've only got 3.5 laps left. We're 51 minutes in to Snetterton, the penultimate round of AOSC11, all thanks to Jinx Shifters and, of course, RaceKraft Simulations. Our second last round of season 11. Of course, next week we go to the big one, Dan. It's Bathurst, 650 kilometres. We get the duos back there. They team up 2 races, 650 kilometres, and we take on what is an Australian icon. Well, it's an icon around the world, really, the Bathurst track, especially when you look at the 12-hour and the 6-hour races that are up there. And, of course, hope everyone is enjoying the coverage this weekend. Of course, our delayed Bathurst, and we can't wait to see what we do at AOSC there once again. I don't think you'll see me, you, and Norrie doing a lap around there again because, well, the reason why we're in the commentary box.
Well, I enjoyed the lap last time out. It was good fun. I'd be keen to do it again if we could get the guys on board for that. But I think we've got some very talented drivers out here that would all put us 3 to shame. And we're probably the better for sitting back and watching them. But it will be great to see all the drivers and teams pair up for that final 650k sprint race around the mountain there. It's going to be a very challenging race for all of those guys. 4 hours in the seat for the teams to do, and plenty of strategy. So it's going to be an awesome one to see, and we're going to crown ourselves a new champion at the end of this one.
We could crown a champion here tonight. Corey Shepherd dominating at the moment, and we did say he's really just got to stay in front of Jordan Ross when it comes to points tonight. He's just got to finish a position in front, and he will clinch the championship here tonight. And he's looking very strong with only a couple of laps left to go. The Mr. Antenna Mustang, he has fought for a couple of seasons now to bring home a championship in AOSC, and he's had the likes of James Scott just hold him out. He's taken the fight to him. He just hasn't quite got there. And this year so far, we have, I'm just doing the sums up here. We've got 6 wins. If he wins tonight, that'll make 7 wins out of 15 rounds. What a phenomenal feat from him, considering he did miss Barcelona. So he's missed a round. He has dominated in the championship. This could be his 7th win of the season. There's only 2 rounds where he has not, 3 rounds if you include the round he didn't show up for. There's only 3 rounds out of 15 where we have not seen Corey Shepherd with a podium finish. That is an absolute phenomenal season from the Mr. Antenna Mustang. Premier Racing Team as well. Super dominant. But let's have a look here as he starts the final lap on what could be his first championship in the Jinx Shifters AOSC11. We throw the bridesmaid's dress in the bin, is what I'm going to say, Dan. Throw it in the bin. He's done wearing that. He's going to become a champion tonight. He just has to finish off this 1 lap here at Snetterton.
Yeah, he's done a stellar job there. We've seen him push all the way against James Scott, as you were mentioning before, but since James not turning up, he has really taken control of this championship and has not really put a foot wrong over the course of this season. So got a couple of more corners to go, and potentially looking here, as you say, at the crowning of the Season 11 champion.
Mate, he's brought his teammate Rick Kuznetsov with him as well. I mean, Kuznetsov looks like he's going to get himself another podium, and he's another impressive driver as part of the Premier Racing Team. So this will be his 6th podium for Rick Kuznetsov as well. And big round of applause as he comes across and completes this lap to finish the race here. Shepherd wins the race by a phenomenal amount. 13 seconds almost as Kuznetsov, his teammate. They started on the front row together. They finished the race 1 and 2, and a championship for Corey Shepherd for the first time in the Jinx Shifters AOSC. Tom Freer comes home in 3rd. What a fantastic race from him. Kyle Stokes looking to come across in 4th place. What a way. Ross with the fight back in 5th position. Brian Borg holds out a hard-charging Todd Hayne for 6th position. Hayne in 7th. Johnson now in 8th position, about to cross the start-finish line. And Corey Shepherd, do your celebration burnouts, because you have taken home your first AOSC championship. There's 1 round left to go. The pressure's off. He's like a Shane Van Gisbergen next weekend. He can go to Bathurst with no thought about the championship.
Yeah, that will really make it a much more enjoyable event for him, no doubt there. Didn't get a massive burnout. He's still trying to light the tyres up on the inside there, but he's going to come around to bring that car back into the lane. And as we say, stellar drive from him over the course of this 15 rounds that we've been through so far for the championship.
Mate, if you're in the YouTube chat or watching on social, put a big congratulations to Corey Shepherd, because, look, will he come back with a 718 next season, or will we see the big number 1 on the side? I hope we do. He's channeling Shane Van Gisbergen, trying to drift the car around the track, doing burnouts, taking home a championship with a round to spare. We head off to Bathurst next week, and I'm sure he'll team up with Brian Borg. Cannot wait to see if he can finish the championship with a win. What a phenomenal feat that would be. Look, Rick Kuznetsov tonight, P2 in qualifying, brings the car home. He couldn't keep up with his teammate, but he really tried hard. He was, 2nd most dominant driver out there. Tom Freer hasn't been here the entire series. He's come in and out. He's teamed up with Jordan Ross for a number of races. 3rd tonight, Kyle Stokes. Well, pre-qualifying, he was 10th. He was 11th. After the qualifying single lap shootout, he was 6th. Comes home in 4th, the Synergy Sim Racing entry. Jordan Ross, 19 positions, Dan. 19 positions off the back of the grid and brings that home in 5th position. Brian Borg lost a couple of positions throughout the race, but held on. Todd Hain up 1 position, the Taipan Esports entry, after really, I think his tyres just went off in the end there. Couldn't quite get it done on Brian Borg in the last 10 laps. Damian Johnson had a great night, again, a couple of positions there. Michael Whiting, mixed night for him. Just got caught in those battles there, but 9th position, mate. That is where he qualified, pre-qualified, qualified, and finished was 9th. So big shout out to the Fishy Motorsport guys. And Jamie Dyke comes in 10th. So the Fishy boys there, Michael and Jamie, give himself a 9-10 and a top 10 finish. So I'm pretty sure they'll be happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, hats off to those guys as well. We saw them run that alternate strategy. Didn't quite pay dividends at the back end, but, you've got to take your hat off to them for giving it a crack and making the most of what they were able to do with it as well. I think the big one, as you say, Jordan Ross, 19 spots gained. We saw him thread the needle on the opening lap there with the guys having that little bit of incident down into turn 1 and then down into the kink. He did a stellar job to drive the wheels off that thing and come through. And overall, racing was really back. Marcus did an awesome job keeping away of the guys coming through. We didn't see any issues through that one. And to the guys out front, both Corey and Rick, stand out in the race tonight. They just drove away from it.
Well, we've got our winner for tonight here in the commentary box. He is a young gun of AOSC, and tonight looks like you have clinched the series here. We'll wait for the final decision from RaceKraft. I can't see anything going wrong, Corey Shepherd. Congratulations, fantastic race tonight, and looks like you'll take home your first AOSC championship.
Thanks, guys. That's awesome. We're really happy to be able to do that this round because that really takes the pressure off for Bathurst, so we can just go out there and really push for the win. But super stoked.
The car just looks super stable when you're out there racing around. Is it just that the Premier Racing team with the additional drivers this season just really get that setup right for you?
The setup feels good, and really happy with where we are at the minute. Just want to keep pushing forward and keep doing what we're doing.
Look, you've improved again this season. Run us through, how many nights a week are you on the sim?
We do a lot of nights. There's a lot of practice going on all throughout the team, so that's really good and really helpful to keep pushing forward. But this is definitely a thing where you really need to do a lot of practice to be up the front.
Mate, I know you've got a number of those number 2 Race Circuit Art Australia trophies. I reckon you're looking forward to that number 1, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm super stoked to get the 3-2-1 now.
Yeah, mate. Look, and you brought Rick along with you tonight to get on the second place in the podium. You head to Bathurst next week. Will we see you team up with your team principal, Brian Borg?
Yep, looking like it. Can't wait.
Mate, the Mr. Antenna Mustang. Anyone you need to thank tonight?
Yeah, big thanks to my sponsor, Mr. Antenna. Also, a big thanks to all the guys at Premier Racing. And I'd also like to thank Mum and Dad as well. They do an awesome job with the strategy, and their support is really appreciated. So big thanks to those guys.
Mate, look, congratulations on tonight's win. I'm sure we're going to congratulate you more next week on your championship. We will speak to you then.
Cheers, guys. See you then.
Dan, you could start to hear the emotion in his voice then, couldn't you? He's really happy to get this Jinx Shifters championship for season number 11. And, mate, it's just great to hear, a young person with so much excitement and just so happy to take on, I suppose, a very experienced field throughout season number 11 and come home with the championship win.
Yeah, definitely. And he hasn't put a foot wrong throughout the course of this one. And as he was saying, he now got the trifecta of trophies to go in the cabinet. And hats off to him. He's done a phenomenal job. Joining us now in second place, or coming home second place tonight, Rick Kuznetsov, another one of the Premier Racing team drivers. Rick, great drive out there tonight, mate. Talk us through your race. You looked like didn't quite have the pace for your teammate, but you had plenty over the rest of the field.
Yeah, this track is super tough to be consistent at. The first stint, I was all over the place. Tom was catching me, and I was just feeling super uncomfortable. But in the second stint, I somehow got consistent, and I was able to pull away from Tom, and it was a good race from then.
Talk us a bit through the preparation for this one, because it is very different to a lot of the circuits we've been to traditionally. Last time, I think, we said for the supercars that we've been here in AOSC, it was back in season 6, long before you came and joined us in the series, mate. But first off, have you done many laps around here to try and get a feel for it? And then going in, obviously, we know it's a very loaded track, especially down the left-hand side of the card. Did you find you needed to really balance the car as far as tyres went to get them to hold on as long as they did throughout the course of this?
Yeah, preparation for this track is super important because it's a pretty tough track. And tire wear is pretty horrendous. Like you do about 5 or 6 laps, and then you get loads of understeer. So not overdriving the first few laps and just maintaining the tires is really important to be fast in the end. So yeah, just being consistent and being nice to your tires really.
Yeah, look, mate, you did a phenomenal job out there. Your pace was very, very competitive. We saw you just get pipped at the back end of the race for the fastest lap to your teammate Corey there, but you drove the wheels off the thing tonight. Next week, we're off to Bathurst, the final race of the championship. Looking forward to that one. And are you teaming up, or who are you teaming up with for that one?
Not sure who I'm teaming up with at the moment, but Bathurst is always a good track to go to. It's one of my favourites because you're always on edge, and the walls are pretty terrifying. But yeah, Bathurst is one of my favourite tracks, so hopefully we can get a good result and finish P3 in the championship.
Well, look, mate, congratulations again on an awesome drive tonight. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank PRT, RaceKraft Simulations, Advanced Performance Machineering, and you guys for putting broadcast on.
Fantastic, Rick. Great. Again, congratulations on second time, mate. We'll look forward to hopefully catching up with you next week out at Bathurst.
Sweet. Thank you, guys. See ya.
Dan, I have to say, I'm glad he brought that up. I don't want to put the pressure on him. He would have surpassed Adam Briggs tonight with championship points. So that means he is actually sitting in third in the championship. And a win over Briggsy next week would bring that home.
Well, he's definitely in the right place to do it. And we've seen over the course of this championship there, he's really found good stride in that car. So definitely one to keep an eye on as it unfolds.
And he hasn't been here for every round this season, but when he is here, he has been impressive. Third place tonight, Tom Freer, mate. We didn't even get to talk about you much on the broadcast because you were just doing your own thing, holding on to third.
Yeah, mate. I just had a pretty relaxing race actually. It was it was quite interesting. Obviously, a pretty full-on start around this tight circuit, and then obviously got past Borg, and then Borg played the block game and dropped everyone back down the field. So I had a bit of clean air, which was sort of fun to play with in the end.
We were talking about that a bit earlier. Is that it was really important, wasn't it, to try and get Brian Borg in the opening couple of laps?
Oh, 100%. I knew he was going to be difficult. There's obviously a bit of tension there, and yeah, my idea was I'm just going to send them around the outside at turn 1, lap 1, and hope it sticks. And we nearly got there. We nearly got to the back of Corey in the end, but didn't cover ourselves off enough from Brian at turn 2, and he got it back. And then obviously he had his moment. We went up the inside. He decided to go for my door, which is fine, but good hard racing, and we got past him. And yeah, it was happy days from there, really.
We know you like to think about the strategy. Was there much in it tonight, knowing that Corey and Rick really sort of just had a little bit more pace on top of the Synergy Sim Racing guys?
Yeah, they definitely had a little bit more pace. I felt like our car was probably stronger late in the stints. So obviously in that first stint, a lot of people elected not to do tyres and just take a litre or so of fuel to get a stop out of the way, and that sort of worked in my favour because when that happened, I did make a mistake and come out a bit further behind, but it was clear that we did have a little bit of a pace advantage, maybe over Rick for a little bit, but definitely not over Corey. He's miles out in front doing his own thing. But yeah, if we were closer, we probably could have done more with it, but we didn't play our cards right in the end, and yeah, third was all we could do really.
Look, and we want to know what is obviously the beer to race ratio for Jordan Ross, because tonight your teammate Jordan Ross 19 positions. Is he going to let you on the formula?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what his ratio is. Some nights it could be 12. The others it might be 6. I think his sweet spot's around 2. If you get him on about 2 beers in a race, he's usually right up the front. But yeah, I don't know. I think he must add maybe 2 or 3, and he was ready to send it and use the front bumper and do what he had to do.
Mate, it was an absolutely impressive drive from him as well. And a thing about this Synergy Sim Racing, Kyle Stokes was another one. Let's talk about him in your team. I mean, it did really good in the single lap shootout too to put himself in position number 6 in the end after it was all run and done. And he came home right behind you in 4th position. So you were Synergy Sim Racing 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That's a good showing from the team.
Oh, 100%. I think Kyle is one of the most underrated drivers in the sim community. I think he's one of those guys who just seems to turn up and punch for punch at the front of the field every week. And he did that last week and the week before, and he turned up this week and he did it again. But I think he got held up a bit in that first stint, which probably hurt him. If that didn't happen, I definitely feel like he probably would have pressured me, if not passed me, towards the end, because he had really good pace.
Yeah, no, he definitely, mate, he's just there, isn't he, Kyle Stokes? I'm waiting for the breakthrough with him. He's another one. It's going to happen. It's just when and where. But look, the Synergy guys, you guys seem to be getting the setup right. Everyone seems to be getting comfortable in the cars. And look, are you teaming up with Ross for Bathurst is the big question.
I don't know. I'll have to have a chat to him. I'm not sure if I'm racing yet. I'm pretty certain, 99% sure I will be. But yeah, if we race, I think I will definitely be with Jordan. So there'll be a lot of front bumper action and a lot of door-to-door action, that's for sure.
Look, mate, who else do you need to thank for tonight's race?
Yeah, obviously big thanks to Synergy Sim Racing, Novus Glass, JK Signs, Posse's Mechanical. Yeah, just big thanks to them, and obviously thanks to you for putting on the broadcast. It's brilliant.
Well, congratulations on third place tonight, Tom. I mean, Jordan's been up there on the podium the last several rounds, so it's great to see a new name from Synergy Sim Racing. I know you've been on the podium with him in the Enduros, and I've got my fingers crossed that you and him get together for Bathurst, because we could really put you guys might put on a show there and take these Premier Racing Team guys.
Let's go, that's for sure. Cheers, guys.
Oh, mate, there we go. Our top three tonight. Our winner, Corey Shepherd, securing his first AOSC championship, all thanks to Jinx Shifters from your racing team. Rick Kuznetsov second tonight and just puts himself in third position in the championship heading into the final round. Tom Freer in third. And like we say, we might see him teaming up with Jordan Ross there. Now, Jordan Ross sitting in that second position in the championship, but with tonight's score there from Rick Kuznetsov, they're going to get a little bit closer. So it's going to be very interesting next week at Bathurst. We will have to decide second and third in the championship. Shout out to all of our sponsors tonight here. Jinx Shifters, RaceKraft Simulations, couldn't do the series without them, as well as all of our sponsors out there, AJ Insurance Services, Akita Industries, Track Cams for Gourmet, Simrigs.com, Race Circuit Art Australia, and of course, our USA friends, Team 126 Racing. Daniel, I don't know what else there is to say except bring on Bathurst.
Well, that's it, mate. Bathurst, we've got to look forward to that one. Our final 650k Enduro for season 11. We've already got an effective series champion crowned in Corey Shepherd. He goes into that one a little bit less on the mind. He can just focus wholeheartedly on the race and getting the best one forward. But it's going to be a fantastic event. And as Bathurst always does, it puts on a fantastic show. So looking forward to seeing how that one will play out next week.
Don't forget, broadcast will start a bit early with a 650k race, so make sure you follow the YouTube channel AOSC TV for all the times and the Facebook chat. We'll see you next week for Bathurst for the final round of the Jinx Shifters AOSC11.